Hello, my name is Kim Antelo, and I am one of the principal consultants here at Scrum Inc. Today I'm here to talk to you about a large manufacturing organization that went through an agile transformation and how we dealt with one of the biggest problems when we do an agile transformation, and that is the middle management group. Here we have an example of an org chart. Very typical of a very large organization. We have a CIO, we have the vice presidents, or the vice presidents who work for them, and then we have the teams that are under them. In the last 20 years is what has happened is most of these teams have created their own firewalled or siloed organizations. Within that, here you can see that each one of these colors represent one of those organizations. They have gone off and quarantined themselves from other places within the organization, and they've actually created these firewalls. They're not talking to each other, and as what we found is, in many cases, these people are building the same or similar products multiple times. Now, when we go through an agile transformation, we need to bring some of that technical skill in, and we need to build kind of centers of excellence. Instead of having each one of these organizations working with outside vendors to do the technical work, they actually created a separate group for software engineering. And we removed those silos and started to have people talk to each other. The problem is that the people at the VP level didn't have enough detailed knowledge about what their products were or how they needed to interact. One of the things that we do in ScrumAtScale is to create a meta scrum. We did this with that kind of middle manager group. It's actually a meta scrum. With that director level of person, we actually brought all of those people together, had them create visions for their products, had them create lean canvases, and then created roadmaps for what their products looked like. Through this, we were able to educate everyone across the meta scrum so that they knew what was going on with the products, and we could identify where there were overlaps. An example of an exercise that we did, we had originally 2,000 products that were identified for this organization. That was more products that this organization was supporting than number of employees. It was actually 2 products per employee. When we took a look at this and said, what is all of this stuff that we're actually using or that is actually being used, we were able to narrow that down to really 200 products. Now we had better visibility to what those things were and what those problems were that they were trying to solve. And we were able to, from that, get it down to 20 product groups, where we could then clearly articulate what are those things, how do they relate, and how do they work together. In this picture, you can see where we took those products, we pulled them together and tried to figure out where are their dependencies, where do we need to work together better. And from this exercise, we were able to figure out how do we pull together appropriate meta scrums. We then formed mission-based teams, or a network of teams, using General McChrystal's team of teams approach. From here, we had a meta scrum that met every Monday for a couple of hours. They would go through on a cadence to say, what are the priorities that changed? They would understand what are the things that are dependent upon each other, and where was there an opportunity for reuse. They had people that came from the big data organizations, from the full stack organizations, and then product owners that came from each one of the products that came and supported those. So here you can see we've got maybe a diagnostics group that came from the customer support team, the financial team, a product lifecycle management team that maybe came from mechanical engineering. Those then formed the new meta scrums, as opposed to following the same silos that we were used to when we had those kind of brick walls between each one of those teams. The teams would come together, they would work on a specific mission, they would solve that mission until it was done, and then we would do a scale-free reorganization, and those teams would move on and work on whatever the next problem is. We continued this, and every quarter each product had a highlight. They did their updates, they told us how their vision was going to change, what changed on their lean canvas, how they were progressing towards their key metrics and their key success criteria. They would also do demos in that event where the actual product owners would come and share the product so that everyone in that meta scrum knew what was going on and understood those products, and then they would update the roadmap. the thing that they focused on was, what did we learn and how do we address the next most important thing? This is an example of a meta-meta scrum. Obviously, this is much larger than 5 people, but as teams are starting to get together and they're learning more and more about all of the products, we've got to start a little bit big sometimes, and then as we cross-train and get more T-shaped across the product owner loop, we have the ability to start to narrow that down a little bit. That's the large manufacturing organization and how they started down their path on the PO loop in ScrumAtScale. Thank you.